Obviously, SHEDEUR Sanders and Dillon Gabriel are all the talk of the rookie minicamp from this weekend. And we're certainly going to talk about them. We're definitely going to start with some unfortunate breaking news from the Cleveland Browns. Browns 3D on the OBR starts now. Welcome back, my friends, to the show that never ends, your daily delivery of all things Dog Pound Browns 3D on the Orange and Brown Report. How is everybody? Hope you all had a fantastic weekend. As always, all of us here at the OBR, we appreciate everything all of you do for us, coming out and reading the daily written content from our fabulous staff of writers and joining us every evening here on the OBR streaming network, starting every night at 6 o'clock, Monday through Friday, with your host, myself, Jeff Lloyd, and Browns 3D. Make sure you subscribe to the OBR on YouTube. Of course, make sure you subscribe to the OBR on Twitch as well. We definitely want to get into the quarterbacks and certainly the weekend from Berea as far as the rookie mini camp. I think a lot of positives were had, but we're going to get to that. Unfortunately, we are going to start with a little bit of bad news. And I kind of think this is something that maybe most of us all saw coming in regards to Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah. Anytime Andrew Berry was asked for an update, the update was basically that there wasn't really much of an update. Probably told us that things were not going very well, unfortunately for JOK. Then pick 33, first pick of the second round in the 2025 NFL draft, the Browns selected linebacker Carson Swissinger. Looks to be a fine young player, but yet another sign that probably led us all to believe that maybe Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah's situation is a little bit worse than we all were hoping for. From Cleveland Browns general manager Andrew Berry. Jeremiah's health is of the utmost importance to us, and although he has made progress towards recovery, we've made the decision to place him on reserve / pup, physically unable to perform, which means he will not be playing football during the 2025 season. Jeremiah has the full support of our team, and we expect him to continue to be a part of the organization, even though he will not return to the field this year. We will not make any predictions on Jeremiah's football future at this time, but we do know that he's in good spirits and will continue to take the advice of world-class medical experts who will continue to guide his progress and recovery. From JOK himself. To the Cleveland Browns fan base and my supporters worldwide, thank you for your patience in my silence. From day one, you embraced me as more than a player, but also a brother and a young man with purpose. I'm grateful to the Browns organization for their full support and to the world-class doctors guiding me through recovery. While I won't suit up this season, I'm focused on what I can control. My healing, my mindset, and my faith. The body may rest, but the calling never sleeps. I've given my heart to this game. I don't know what's next, but I'll continue trusting my medical team, serving the community, and backing my brothers on the field. Love always, JOK. So there it is. And unfortunately, this is sad. This is terrible. Last year, when he went down, you saw a significant change in this team on the defensive side of the ball. Not only one of their best players, one of their leaders. This is a guy who now this would have been his 5th season, starting his contract extension money. I'm sure if you guys all check out Jack Duffin's timeline, I'll probably walk you through the explanation of how it works. And, very similar to Sean Watson, insurance pays for some. The question is how much does insurance actually pay for either way? And most importantly, Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah gets his money. Again, just a vital part of this team, a vital part of their defense in 2023, the growth in his game, what we saw, and you got to see just everything on display in 2023, just how ridiculously good and complete he had become at the linebacker position. after kind of being drafted out of Notre Dame as kind of like I just call it monster back. It was kind of just, finding where you thought was the best situation to just let him go and, basically wreck house. And in the early time of his career here, learning, working more with Anthony Walker and, becoming a full-time linebacker, you just really saw the growth in his game, and so much so that the Cleveland Browns offered him a very, very handsome contract extension, which he accepted late last summer. Um, you kind of felt with the way the moves were coming at the linebacker position, bringing in Jerome Baker, bringing back Devin Bush, and we'll see how that move plays out. And then, of course, the drafting of Carson Swissinger, and then a couple of moves the Browns made today. I guess what, signed two safeties, signed three wide receivers at a rookie mini camp, needed to make some roster spots. And, I didn't want to say it, and it kind of felt with having to come up with these roster spots, there was some sort of shoe that was going to fall. And here obviously was one of them. And hopefully, whatever the actual injury is with Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, it just gets healed to the point where Jeremiah can go on and just live a happy and successful life. Football comes second in stuff like this. And I've already talked about this, and I've put on record about this, that we know JOK has been through a lot personally. You know, I've lost a brother. I couldn't imagine what losing a brother at the age of JOK's brother and the age Jeremiah was when it happened, certainly how it happened, and then, trying to manipulate the rest of your life. It weighs on me daily. I can only imagine what it does when someone is lost in the prime of their life and lost in such a heinous way. But it sounds like Jeremiah is in the right spirits where he needs to be. It sounds like his head is in the right place. And he just told you in his own words, he will accept whatever comes his way, and he will continue to be the person that he always has. Now, rookie camp this weekend. And I just want to start here. I think both quarterbacks, from what we were available to see, looked good. And, you know, some of it, am I maybe drinking the Kool-Aid? I'm not going to lie to you. Who isn't, right? Everybody, once you get it, you embrace it, you would take it. What's the first thing you do? You run with it, right? But I think for the most part, I think SHEDEUR Sanders looked excellent. I think for most of it, Dillon Gabriel looked pretty excellent as well. But in rookie minicamp, this probably should have been the expectation, correct? Dillon Gabriel, 6 years of college football, 24 years old. SHEDEUR Sanders, a pretty solid storied history in college football, 23 years old. These guys should have come in and taken the lead and taken the run and gotten things done. I'm not holding that against them. That's exactly, the expectation. You should meet expectations, correct? That's, if they weren't meeting expectations, I think that is where we would actually have the problem. I thought both guys handled themselves what it looks like on the field. Certainly working with guys at the wide receiver position, catching these passes from them that most likely are not going to make it to the 53-man roster. Although some of these guys did impress so much that the Browns opted to keep three of these tryout wide receivers around, and we'll mention them here in a few minutes. I also think one of the more impressive things was listening to Dillon Gabriel and certainly listening to SHEDEUR Sanders speak with the media. SHEDEUR Sanders was, asked about, dropping in the draft, all of this, and, SHEDEUR, and I thought was a great line, said, I'm not here to prove my doubters wrong. I am here to prove myself right. I love that line. Don't ever let media, somebody outside, shake your confidence. And we have certainly, and this isn't necessarily Cleveland media, because this was more draft national media, of course, that led to this. But I think that was a great line from SHEDEUR. Nothing has wavered in me. I am still the same guy I have always been. I'm going to play like I have always played. It just really, really impressed me. And Dillon Gabriel, when asked, it was a terrible question. And I hate these looking to create trouble questions. And this was, basically about, Shedeur Sanders' presence in the quarterback room. And, you know, I think distraction was a word that was used. And Dillon Gabriel just shut it down, man. These are the types of questions that can cause issues within a locker room. Called the question out as BS and did not clarify it with any more of an answer than that. I'm ecstatic. I'm not gonna lie to you. Because how many years have we seen these players and some of them try to win the media war? Don't even get invested into it, man. Shoot it down from jump. And both of these guys, to their credit, are doing it to this point. Things will pick up a little bit more this week, certainly with some veterans around. I guess it's 2 weeks from today. Start to get to some more full team activities, legit OTAs. And we'll start to see the next phase of Shedeur Sanders and Dillon Gabriel. The staying after practice stuff, that's fantastic. I'm just curious if Dillon Gabriel did it as well. I'm not here for, whatever media member, picks which guy is their guy and reports it that way. And I think most of you fans are with me. I don't think anybody cares who ultimately ends up being the quarterback for the Browns. I think we would all like to know that whoever it is turns out to be the guy, whether it is Dillon Gabriel. And yeah, he's not tall in stature. Is this the second time now in my time covering the Cleveland Browns, I've got to listen to a reporter bang on a guy's size, height? Are you guys kidding me? These guys are world-class athletes. On their worst day in sports, your best day wouldn't even hold a candle to it. So that stuff like that, just knock it off. It's miserable. It's annoying. It's cheap. Save that for when you and your buddies go to the bar afterwards. Not while you're on the field trying to look like you're a pro at your job. It's garbage. Hate it. Every sense of the word. Now, the question I have, and I'm kind of on record on this. I did a radio spot earlier before this today, is I honestly think, and I'm not sure who's going to start more games between the two, whether it would be Sanders, whether it could be Gabriel. But I honestly and wholeheartedly believe that Shedeur Sanders and Dillon Gabriel will start the majority of games for the Cleveland Browns in 2025. There's honestly not a reason to sit them. Either one of them, to be fair, and that's a difficult decision they're going to have to make. And it's certainly a difficult decision that Gabriel is in, and certainly that Sanders is in, that they are in this room together. If you want to find out if either one of them is starting NFL caliber at the quarterback position, you just play them. They've got from this past weekend all the way till September to get comfortable within the system, within the playbook, with the personnel, with their skill group guys. There's nothing that these guys are not going to be ready for come September. And I don't know how much improvement either one of these guys are going to get by sitting at 24 and 23. And whatever you saw as negatives for Shedeur or for Dillon, none of them was raw. None of it was needs some time. These guys are pretty much ready to go. Can they themselves take a jump as they up against competition level in the NFL while playing for the Cleveland Browns, while playing in the AFC North. Does it help a guy like SHEDEUR Sanders to now be on the outside of a system and his father that he had been in his entire life? Dad developed him. Dad got him there. But now it's kind of a point where, with maybe some new voices around him, a new offense around him, does it spark another level of growth in SHEDEUR's play? Dillon Gabriel, I guess if you go 7 seasons now, this is 4 different teams, minimum 4 different systems, excelled at all of them, UCF, Oklahoma, Oregon. How does he take to this new system, this new playbook, and find, where his niche is in with this offense and certainly with the skill group? Is it crazy to think that the week 1 starting quarterback for the Cleveland Browns is either SHEDEUR Sanders or Dillon Gabriel? I just don't know that it is anymore. When it first happened, and of course 2 weeks ago now, we all kind of put together our plan on maybe how this all works, right? But now, here, 2 weeks later, and I think it all probably has to do with whether or not you believe, could this team possibly find a way to contend in 2025? It doesn't for me, though. Do you feel that these guys did enough in college and unfortunately just had some things? Sure, Gabriel, size, SHEDEUR, athleticism, but are those things big enough to make you believe that neither one of these guys are ready to go plug and play week 1? It doesn't. And again, I think the only way you're truly going to find out is by putting them on the field. Of course, we'll see how, OTAs go. We'll see how training camp goes. We'll certainly see how exhibition games go. I'm not saying the Browns won't or couldn't start Joe Flacco or, to a lesser extent, Kenny Pickett week 1. But I'm starting to think that you truly want to get the idea of what these guys are capable of. And of course, I'm talking about Sanders and Gabriel. The moment's never too big for either one of them. Certainly had major success. Certainly showed the ability to put up major production. I'm just not sure it's in the best interest of trying to get a good read, accurate read, onto whether or not you believe these guys are capable of succeeding in the NFL, to sit them from the beginning for whatever time you think is necessary to just play one of the veterans. I really think you have to probably roll these guys out from day 1. Again, I don't know which one it should be. Certainly what'll happen over the next few months will tell us the tale as far as how all that's going to work out. Browns have made some moves today. First off, the Cleveland Browns have signed 2 safeties. Oddly enough, it almost works out like there was a trade between the Browns and the Steelers. Juan Thornhill, of course, now a Pittsburgh Steeler. and he is so annoying on social media. But now the Browns signed former safety Damontae Kazee. Kazee, when he came into the league, was a corner, played some nickel, transitioned to safety. He had 3 interceptions over the last 2 years, not starting for Pittsburgh, but playing in more of a nickel and dime role for the Steelers the last couple of seasons. They also signed Rayshawn Jenkins, found most of his success with the Chargers and the Jacksonville Jaguars, played last season with the Seattle Seahawks. From the U originally. These guys are going to come in and compete. I don't know if these guys necessarily are here to start. I think a lot of that would have to do with Ronnie Hickman. I still think the Browns would like to have the opportunity for Ronnie Hickman to prove that he can be the starting free safety for this defense. But make no mistake, this is certainly some pressure for Hickman now. These guys are proven commodities in the NFL, know how to contribute, certainly in nickel and dime situations. So certainly, something to, monitor here, certainly for the Browns at the safety position, as they are starting to get a couple of bodies in here. And for anybody who is talking about Justin Simmons, I mean, come on, guys. Justin Simmons appears, for all intents and purposes, to be ring chasing. I don't know how that would have fit in with, connecting here right now with the Cleveland Browns. Wide receivers. Luke Flourier, Kent State. I want to say mentor kid. If I'm wrong, I apologize to all you Ohio folks. I know how much you seriously all take this. Also, undrafted free agent, Western Kentucky, Keyshawn Johnson. Had almost 1,000 yards last year in Western Kentucky, but in Western Kentucky, certainly an offense that lights up the stat sheet. Yet another wide receiver, another MAC guy, Miami of Ohio, Cade McDonald, also comes in for the Browns. Makes the doesn't make the team, obviously. Makes the roster out of rookie mini camp, being undrafted and being a camp only invite. But these guys, somebody was catching all these balls from Dillon Gabriel and certainly from SHEDEUR Sanders over the last couple, days here. I do want to give a little credit here. Zack Jackson, you guys heard his comments today about SHEDEUR being the guy that looked better over the weekend. Zach certainly probably, in the house, certainly Friday and Saturday. Anybody talks about Sunday, it was closed, guys. So anybody mentions they might have been there Sunday, I think they're lying to you. All right, just so you know that. But the reason we should give Zack Jackson the credit here, and certainly, heed, to listen. Zack Jackson was the one who was trying to tell us last year. He was the one who was trying to tell us all, and it wasn't even really quietly. He was kind of saying it almost loudly about how terrible the quarterback position was looking last year. In training camp, in joint practices, he was the one trying to tell us. Whether or not you chose to listen, that's on you. I'm kind of guilty. But Zack Jackson, he was the one who was being honest about it, and he was the one that turned out to be right. Just some thoughts on kind of everybody else. Obviously, Mason Graham getting sick, apologizing to people. It happens. I was a puker. I puked a lot during football practices. It just happens. Some people are, just some people aren't. But you see everything with Zach. I mean, I'm sorry, with Mason Graham. Just fun player, exciting player, hard worker. He's certainly, whatever your feelings are on the selection, and probably I'm sure there's still plenty still on a Travis Hunter hangover for it not happening. I think we're going to be more than okay with Mason Graham. The backfield together to this point has been absolutely super impressive. As you all got a nice chuckle out of that. Thanks to my lovely bride for scaring me a little bejesus out of me. But the young backfield, Of course, Dylan Sampson and of course Quinshon Judkins. Uh, I think the excitement for these two is it's merited. Everything appears to be like these guys are just good kids, good players. Already seems like they're starting to, have a relationship and a bond with each other. I mean, look, you got one kid who's a Louisiana kid, you got one kid who's an Alabama kid. Obviously schools were eyeing them, the same schools were eyeing them. They were eyeing the same schools. And I know the whole Nick Chubb thing is difficult. I get it. I truly do. Um, but I would rather continue to ride out the great memories that we all have of Nick Chubb being part of this franchise, as opposed to getting to maybe see the possible end, and him just not looking anything like this guy that we have all fell in love with, cherished, and appreciated for all he did, certainly for the team, the city, the franchise. It's a bitter pill to swallow. I get it. And you want to see players go out on their own terms. But it's a little bit different, the running back position. When it's kind of over, it's kind of over. And it may be not so much that, the Browns are necessarily telling us they think it's over. It also kind of looks like maybe the rest of the league is too, because it doesn't look like anybody else is out there in a rush to put pen to paper. We'll see. Would love to see Nick play one more year, preferably in the NFC, of course. Harold Fannin for just 20 years old. You really, really see it. You do. And, there's a lot of skill there, the nuance. You can tell, you just see the intelligent level. Like he's a very, very smart guy. And having played, it's not like he's played tight end his whole life, as everybody knows, but you see the football intelligence. You see what he's capable of. And this is what I talk about when he's running in the open field. We all know he is not this superior athlete, but he just, his mind works a little bit quicker than kind of everybody else's. And you see it in the routes. You see him, you've seen it, some of the footage over the weekend of him, manipulating the back end of the end zone, still able, to get the reception and still get his feet down. Schlesinger, of course, had the pick six. And Carson Schlesinger, man, he's got some, he's got some eagle's wings to him. Like he can move and he has range within that body. And certainly for Schlesinger and, anybody who watched us, on the stream during the draft, it was my first reaction and it was my first concern. Obviously, when we heard the name Carson Schlesinger, was just, was the situation with Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah. And of course, now we have some more clarity on that. So Carson Schlesinger, not just here because he's a prospect they really liked. He's here because he's a prospect, unfortunately, right now they probably think they really need. So again, 2 safeties in, 3 wide receivers that were at camp on invites over the weekend have now been signed and will try to continue their path here, which I think is pretty good for SHEDEUR, and I really think is good for Dillon Gabriel. These guys started to develop a little bit of a relationship, so that kind of hopefully can help them, where they kind of get to see some, kind of get to work with some guys. Maybe they have a little bit of, some trust in. Not sure where all these reps are going to go, and not sure that quarterback 3 and quarterback 4 are going to be getting to throw to the Jerry Judys and the Cedric Tillmans of the world and the Deontay Johnsons of the world. Probably working more off the 3 guys that were signed today, and of course, the Jamari Thresh and maybe Michael Woods grouping. But I think the thing that I kind of enjoying most of all this is, of the 4 quarterbacks that are here, there is one quarterback that we're all trying to significantly get away from. And I'd say for the first time in an extremely long time, there's been days without that name having been mentioned, which is good. Nobody wants to talk about it anymore. We all know it's over. We all know it didn't work, and nobody wants to have the reminder of it. Onward and upward, I guess, right? So to Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, obviously, all the best and hope everything, continues to hopefully get better for him. I don't think the kid quarterback's going to sit much, if at all. I just don't think it's going to happen. This has been Browns 3D on the OBR streaming network. Of course, we appreciate y'all, whether you come out all day for the written content, absorb all the great work, from our fantastic staff of writers here, or you join us every night on the OBR streaming network, starting with Browns 3D at 6 o'clock. Various shows after throughout the week. We will have a live show Wednesday evening when we will discuss, of course, the schedule release. So again, thanks to everybody. Make sure you subscribe to the OBR on YouTube. Make sure you subscribe, of course, to the OBR on Twitch. This has been your daily delivery of all things Dog Pound. Browns 3D on the OBR. And we will talk to y'all tomorrow.